Hello. Good morning. Now is the time. How are you today? ¿Cómo están? I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling relaxed. I slept more today and I was doing yin yoga and I prepared this amazing smoothie. I made a video for sharing with you because you won't believe it's been a long time since I don't know when was the last time that I had sesame. Hola. Que no sé cuál fue la última vez que tomé leche de sésamo. But that was the first milk that I started drinking when I stopped drinking milk. Cuando dejé de tomar leche, and now it's look the irony. Now I'm gonna serve this smoothie in this jar, which is actually a raw milk jar. I don't super drink raw milk, but I do it sometimes. And I made a video. Hola. Okay, voy a invitar a Valkyrie. Ay, no sé cómo pronunciarlo. Sound Healing. Para que se una a nuestra charla. Ok. O la espero. O simplemente la espero a que venga. Fuck. A ver. ¿Cómo están? Si quieren me pueden escribir cosas. Creo que ustedes hablan español, quienes están aquí. Yo hablo español. Solo que mi público en la mayoría habla inglés. Entonces, y también los vivos muchas veces son ¡Ahí está! ¡Hola, amor! Pero... ¡Hola, Patri! Ahí está, ¿ves? Unos en mi otro Instagram y aquí hay uno con Astrid, una persona que hace Reiki, una hermosa mujer. Ahí está. Hello, hi. I was looking for your Instagram and oh no, I don't know.
No worries. Oh, it's so good to connect.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been having a slow morning and just moving through emotions and stuff, and I feel grounded right now. And you?
I was sharing the same. I woke up later and I started doing some yin yoga because I used my body a lot yesterday. So I'm feeling super relaxed, more slow. That's why I made this super smoothie with cacao. I was like, I'm gonna make something super powerful and nourishing for our talk. What are you having today?
I'm having a little magic potion.
Do you want to share what's on your potion?
It's a little cup that I made.
Oh, wow.
Isn't it cute? So there's cacao, of course, cardamom, cayenne, a little bit of maple syrup, a lot of goodness, a lot of love. I put a little salt too. I felt like I was bringing a little bit of, I don't know, clear, crystalline energy. So, yeah.
Wow, interesting. Nice recipe. I love the cayenne. I put on mine, I made a special creamy sesame milk that I love. I put vanilla, cacao, of course. I put cinnamon, a little bit of banana to make it sweet, reishi, lion's mane, and
Ooh,
flor de cacao rose, which is a little flower, white flower, that tastes like maple syrup. Yeah, so it's super nice,
nice.
super creamy. I love, yeah, the smell is. So yeah, well, we're here today, and thank you for joining. Thank you for saying yes to my invitation. People will come and go and say hi, and like if you see me like just moving forward, it's because I like to say hi to people or send some hugs when they do some stuff when they interact. But yeah, I want to know about you. How are you feeling right now? Well, you already shared. I want to know what are you doing right now and who are you right now? Who are you being now? If you have an answer for that.
Such a big question. What are we? um, well, right now I'm mostly a sound healer, I would say. I do private sessions at my place and also group sessions. So I'm mostly, I would say, like this energy healer, spiritual guide, and I have a lot of fun bringing people into the soundscape to explore their inner world. That's mostly what I do. I'm certified in somatic trauma healing also, so I help people release trauma and get a sense of safety in their bodies. That's really important for me. And other than that, I paint, I dance, I laugh a lot, and yeah, I make magic. That's what I do.
Interesting. You are magic. Thank you. And well, we're here to talk about some tantric practice. I would love to hear your story of how do you approach to tantra, how do you practice it, or what does it mean for you?
Um, I would say Tantra came really naturally into my life. I think Tantra is a way of experiencing life, first and foremost. It's bringing our full self on the table into the experience and being present with whatever is there. So it's not necessarily trying to attain enlightenment or going on a certain like direction. It's being open to like whatever comes, even if it's a little bit like it's more dense and intense. We stay present to it, we alchemize it, we dance with life instead of like numbing. I would say that for me, that was my first type of relationship with Tantra. And I love the fact that you brought me into this conversation of the heart talk because I feel like my whole journey is about reconnecting with the heart. So when I was really, really young, I was super connected. I was born into a family that was like spiritually open, which is really cool. My mother and my aunt were Reiki masters, and my grandmother would like do some reflexology. So we would always massage one another and talk about our dreams and talk about like spirituality and stuff. And eventually, along the way, like I didn't have any sounding board on the outside of my family nucleus.
Yeah.
It's like spirituality wasn't like a big thing around me. Nobody had like tarots at home. Like nobody was talking
Surprisingly,
about ghosts.
yeah.
And I was a very, very sensitive kid. So I kind of like just I stayed in the spiritual closet for a while. I was initiated in Reiki when I was 11, and I did Kundalini yoga with my mother in my teenage years. That was interesting. Like opening all of those like channel where you're going through puberty.
Yeah.
Very good. And and then I kind of like shut everything down because I was opening more and more to psychic gifts, having all sorts of experiences like at night. And my mother didn't really know how to kind of like
Yeah.
care or like guide me through that.
Yeah.
Even though she was doing Reiki, she was more in the light work,
Yeah.
not so in the shadow work.
Yeah.
So the things that I was going through was kind of like freaky for her as well. So she was like, hey, if you don't want to see anything, just ask for it to stop. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm afraid, let's stop. And I went to bed. And so with it's like taking a path of fear. And then I wanted to be an actress, but I was too afraid of doing it. And then I went to like school, university, partied. I was still doing some creative stuff on the side, but it wasn't at the forefront. It's like I never really like assumed that I was an artist and a spiritual being. It was really like at the back, and it created kind of like a numbing of my whole system. So slowly through the years and the heartbreaks and trauma that we can't really deal with because I didn't have the tools at that time, I slowly began to like numb myself and really dissociated. And so in university, even though it was like a really bubbly time in my life where I was meeting a lot of people and I love to learn, like I love to learn my philosophical classes. I was like, whoa, like existential crisis after one another. But I was also very much disconnected from my body and my needs. And my sex life was mostly like fawning and pleasuring my partner, but not having any pleasure for myself, So I was kind of like this thinking head, very anxious thinking head. But my whole body felt numb. I couldn't really, I didn't know what my needs were. I was very like immature in that sense.
Yeah.
And that led me through long periods of depression and feeling disconnected from the world and not knowing what this is all about, and like really, really dark places. And at a certain point, I had to choose, like, do I really want to live or not? It was at that point, I was having these moments of like laying down, like at the side of my bed because I couldn't even like be in a normal bed. Like I was just like, ugh, like everything felt so uncomfortable.
Wow.
Finding grounding with the wall
Like
and the floor.
Really big contraction, like you were under this big contraction that, you can't even breathe.
No.
Yeah, literally. It's really hard to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a partner at that time that was like, I think you're going through depression. And I was like, whoa, I think so. Like, I think so. There's nothing, I felt like numb and I didn't have access to my joy anymore. And for a long time, like many years, I was kind of like playing the role of Valerie.
Yeah. Wow.
Saying to people, I love you, taking care, like still being there, but like not feeling anything.
Empty inside. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people either go through these things periodically or like live their life in that way. And I'm talking about this and I feel it like even in the throat, like there's a closing. Like I feel a lot of people have these experiences and we don't talk about it that much.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So anyways, the beautiful part of this is that I eventually, like, I chose to live fully because I had like 1 feet in and 1 feet out, I didn't really want to be in my body. I was drinking a lot at that time, numbing myself even more, and sometimes I was still there. So, like that's not really a cool place to be. And when I said fully yes, it was like 180 degree. Like I started going into psychotherapy, and then it's like the first session was just me crying and like exposing all the baggage that I was carrying. And I was like, whoa, like all of the years that I was numbing was actually still there. It's like a backpack. And I'm just uncovering like these antique
Piece by piece.
stuff.
Yeah.
Piece by piece. Like, oh, all of these emotions, all of these experiences, we have to deal with them eventually. Like they're all energies, like staying
in our
within.
bodies. Yeah.
And so in that process, everything started coming back online. I started feeling my emotions again. I started feeling my chakras, going into meditation, like feeling other people around. It's like everything just got like plugged back in. And I think that's how just naturally Tantra came about, because I needed to deal with all of that and to alchemize it through art, through dance, through meditation, through energy work. And I started just like reconnecting with my body and letting the Shakti energy guide me through that process. Yeah.
Does anyone suggested you to like start doing some practices, or how did it come to you? Like how did it happen?
It came very naturally. I was called to like listen to bija mantras. Like it's like I had a spiritual reawakening through coming back to my senses and my emotions. And then I was like, oh my God, I remember like I used to do Kundalini yoga, and like, oh my God, I used to do Reiki. Like, oh my God, like, yes, of course. Like I had like this, yeah, like a spiritual reawakening. So I started listening. Sound was a very important part of it. So bija mantras are just like seed words, syllables, for each one of the chakras. And I would just listen to them and connect to each one of them. And then followed like a year of like intense, just like openings and clearing and like
The expansion after the contraction.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. That's really interesting, and I love that you really step into that and you share that. Really, like I could, well, sometimes when you pay attention, it's not that we need to be so empathic. We are, but sometimes just paying attention. I was paying attention to you, and I just felt that you were super present, opening your heart and just sharing that heart space. And I love that you share that, because as you said, sometimes we are not used to share that things that actually are more common than we think. And also that you mentioned that that's a part of everything of life. Like sometimes we have this contraction, we have these moments. So it's kind of like the darkness, because you said, my mother was working with the light, and that was the darkness, or that was dark. And I'm pretty sure, well, I'm pretty sure, first of all, that the people that are listening right now, hola, or that will be listening to this, maybe watching the video, maybe they don't really know what Tantra is or mean. Because I feel that it's such a big confusion. Well, because of course Tantra doesn't have a specific definition, and there's a lot of way of practicing it. Like there's like 5 lineage of Tantrism, and there's like different tools, and most of people, or what we receive from this on this side of the world is the sex. But I think there's quite an essence of the Tantra practices, or of the Tantra feeling, or of the Tantra path. And I think it's really related to embarrass that hard and dark moments or dark parts of ourselves, which aren't like dark, but it doesn't mean that they are like super like bad for us.
Exactly. There's no
So I would love
shame
you
in
to
it.
share. Yeah, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that's the most like that's, if we could say something that all the Tantra has in common, is you embrace that part that is not the part that you will be super proud of sharing with the world, or like sharing with you. So what do you think about that? And do you have a specific definition of Tantra that you made it for yourself, or that really means something for you?
I think you're right. Like there is a lot of misconception around Tantra. And there's a reason for that too. Because Tantra it's like the pathless path. It's the path without path. And each person will have, it's not like a dogma where you enter into a certain type of religion and you have these practices and you follow them. There's no right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Tantra is a path of liberation,
Mm-hmm.
and that will look different for everybody. So that's what I perceive in Tantra. But in the West, we have this idea that it's about sex because actually there was this, I don't remember his name, and that's okay. It's a dude that went to India. He got an idea of the Tantra texts, and he just took the part of the concerning the sexual energy and the position because that was very exciting for him, which is understandable. And that's what he brought into the West. And so he was the only link between so people were looking at these in the late 1900s and being like, oh my God. And there was this whole wave of what we call Orientalism. So people got really excited, their imagination got blown away. Because at that time we're still in the Victorian era. So people are still very repressed in so many ways. And the British Empire took over the whole world basically and was colonizing in all these different directions and spreading out this regime of sexual shame and just women shouldn't be talking, we shouldn't be like animals, you don't even scratch yourself in front of people, it's deemed unpure, and so when these texts started coming out, it's woo, we're coming back alive. But Tantra is so much more than that. Tantra is it's a jungle, and there's infinite. You're right, there's 5 principal lineages, but then it goes in all directions in those lineages. And you have Buddhism Tantra, you have Chinese Tantra with the Taoist, you have so many different kinds, and they all have their gods and goddesses, their representation of our inner divinity, and all of different practices. Although Tantra is the word at the base means to weave, to weave it together. So kind of union in a way. So it can be union of you with yourself. It can be union with another. It could be union with nature. You can practice Tantra with a tree if you want, or Tantra with food. It's becoming very present and conscious. Tantra is developing your concentration to access Shiva, which is pure consciousness, and from there mingling with Shakti, which is pure feminine energy. And it's this dynamic that brings about all of the beautiful bliss that we can experience in this life. Yeah, but there's so Tantra means to weave together, and then you have 4 main pillars. So you have 4 different ways of engaging with Tantra, and you can do in one setting, you can go through the 4 pillars. So the first one is stillness. The second one is breath. You have movement and sound.
Beautiful.
So whatever the practice, the lineage, you'll find these 4 pillars in a way. Perfect. 4 entryways, if you want.
Perfect. That's beautiful. So it's basically being humans. Well, my favorite part about Tantra is that it really reivindicates the concept of being a human and having a body, and that the idea of illuminating or getting to this liberation is through experiencing with your body. So for you breathe, you move, you practice, and you kind of reach all that conscious awareness and liberation, or whatever we want to call that paradise, or this ultimate goal of being free and coming back to the source through going to through the physical body, and through experimenting your desires, through going through these dark places, which are the things that we are not used to take as natural, but are the most natural ways of being here. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really valuable. Yeah, and I wanted to know how, if like, imagine that we just meet in the street. We're like walking on the street and like, hey, and you're like, you know, these people that are like standing and giving hugs to people for free. They have this sign, free hugs. And imagine that we have a sign that says free tantra. What would be the first, what would be the thing that you will give to these people? Like free tantra, like what would you do to these people to like give some tantra to these people?
It's so interesting because I I don't think I would engage in tantra with anybody. Just on the street like that. What I love to do is like helping people to connect with their divinity with it.
Yeah.
So I would actually probably bring people into dancing. That's what I love
Yes.
to do the most. Yeah, I think that would be
Yes.
like a practice of like going within
That's
and let
all
the
at the
body
same time.
move and breathe. I think that would be the first the first meeting would be around that. Yeah,
That's
because there's really like there's something very intimate and sacred also with meeting at a tantric level, you know, like some people like to eye gaze and there's so much going on just in that. It's such an intimate act. And I think that would be like the second thing.
yeah.
So first, because what I think is really important in Tantra is like clearing our energy
Yeah.
first. You know, getting like getting this moving, liberating, getting all of the kind of like the pollution of everything that's going on around
Yeah.
us, getting into the body, and from there connect with one another. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And that's
And
what
you mentioned, and before you mentioned Shakti, and then you mentioned Shiva. So where are those people or these things?
yeah, what are those?
Where are
Um,
those?
so I'm not like a mythologist.
Mm-hmm.
I know the basics of what they represent. There are two gods and
Yeah.
goddesses. Shiva is usually represented as a blue being. He has multiple arms when he's in the dance of creation and destruction. So he's the
Mm-hmm.
god of destruction and creation. You can often see him like stepping on his own ego also. There's like his human form on the ground, and he wears like jaguar skin around him to
Mm-hmm.
represent the self mastery of the divinity over the animal.
Mm-hmm.
And his counterpart, he has many because of course he has a whole harem. So there's like Parvati, Sarasvati, like there's many different goddesses that
Mm-hmm.
represent different iteration of the one divine mother. Shakti would be like the main, like the energy behind the all encompassing
Mm-hmm.
energy. And it's the energy that moves through us. It's the energy of creation. It's the
Mm-hmm.
energy of love, I would say
Mm-hmm.
too. It's what gives like form to everything. All of this, like that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so
Beautiful.
when we connect to the idea of Shiva, it's actually tuning ourselves to a higher consciousness. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yes, Tantra is about going into the human side, going to the animalistic desires, but with a reverence,
Yeah.
with respect, with
Yeah.
honor, with this idea of actually meeting it and not just like losing yourself completely in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the self-mastery resides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Gracias. Thank you. And thank you for mentioning the distraction. I think that's also a really big thing on the Tantra world, this distraction and death. And I remember that I had a teacher that used to say, this is actually the cult of death because death is life. And she was like, death is life. Like, you know, when you discover something like, oh, death is life. And she was repeating it. And I didn't understand that at that moment. But then I was like, yeah, because every time you, as you experiment and as you were sharing at the beginning of the video, you were like, every time you close, you really like go down. You're like, oh no, 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 like something brought up and you reborn. So it's like kind of in different situations and in different levels, we kind of need to die to live. And in a really like obvious way, we do need to do that too. But that's also the natural rhythm of the universe. It's every time like contracting and expanding and dying and reborning again. So I think that's really important. And yeah, I would love to share with you, and I would love to listen to your opinion, because I started sharing tantric dinner experiences, and I had a really amazing feedback that really, you know, when someone tells you something and you're like, you know what, wow, it's really meaningful for you. So in my tantric experiences, what I do is basically I make them dance and breathe, and then we go into, like, I make them go into their bodies, and I guide a meditation where they play with the senses and the elements of the food blindfolded, so they can use their five senses. And the idea is that they can experiment the expansion, the desire, because they smell, they touch, they feel, they are super close to each other, but they don't really like get like consume or close anything. And also the rejection, because I have a part where they have like some alcohol or something that is not the best thing to taste blindfolded and you don't know what. And at the end, it's a big table where you share in silence. You can eat with your hands, and it's como un banquete, you know, banquete, como like a big table with a lot of fruits and yeah.
Wow.
So someone says that at the end we were like sharing and giving feedback, and he was like, you know what tantra is? Do you practice tantra in your life? And I was like, yeah. And I think he was really asking me, like, he really wanted to know about the meaning of the practice, like the tantra, Hinduism tantra, or I don't know. And then he wrote me a message, because I always ask them to give me feedback. He was, you know, I would love that we can have a conversation and we can talk about what tantra is at the end of the session, or like have a context. And at the beginning, I was like, well, actually, tantra is life. We are like always, as we share at the beginning, we are always experimenting, or as long as you wanna be conscious and aware and practice and like work with your body, you are doing tantra in a way. But at the same time, it really like stay in my mind, and I was like, well, but maybe we don't know how can we take this. And sometimes putting, I don't really like to label things, but sometimes having these labels of having these, yeah, practices, the structure, names of things, like make us be more, like have more direction of where to go and how to do in a way, or at least have some ideas and nourish ourselves to guide us through that. Because I think we have a lot of information nowadays, and it's like, uh, it's overwhelming. So yeah, I love sharing with people what this means, and like when we say like Shakti and Shiva and everything, I love just giving the people some approach of what does this means, so they can have a feeling of, yeah, what can they do, or what can they start doing or feeling or practicing or looking at to enter to this world, to enter to this reality, and to become more humans. So yeah, I would love to, yeah, I wanted to share this with you. And yeah, I'm really grateful because you share your knowledge, your story, and your point of view. And yeah, I would love to listen if you have any suggestion to those people like this man that are like looking for some answers on specific things. And you know that nowadays we're using some terms, and some people feel triggered by when you say ceremony, when you say therapy, when you say magic. It's like, what do you mean by that? Or a tantra, but are you really like meaning what you're saying? So what is your lovely word for that thing? So what would you say to someone that are like looking for that, that is looking for that kind of answers and structures?
Beautiful question. I think one of the main keys of Tantra is embodiment. And we touched upon this a couple of times during this discussion. The more you create space in your life for embodiment practices, you are doing Tantra in a way. So Tantra, for me, another point is like developing awareness and then going beyond this awareness to connect with your higher consciousness eventually. And so one of the, what we call like a sadhana would be like a practice. It's really, really easy. And it's one of the things that I love the most to do. You can do it in silence, or you can put music that you like and sit with yourself. And it's like, it doesn't even have to be like stillness meditation where you don't move. You start with stillness, take a few deep breaths, and then you see where your body wants to go. And you take note of how is your emotions today, and what is your brain doing. And your brain might be like, ugh, this is so dumb, like what am I doing here? And you're like, okay. And then you go a little bit deeper and deeper, and eventually like what happens is that you might go spontaneously in some kundalini yoga poses where your body is starting to move and shake and liberate, and then you have a contraction, and then you start to cry, and then you have an expansive moment, you feel joy, and it's just like, it's like clearing your inner channel and making space for that energy to move through you. And then see, it's like getting to know yourself. So that would be like where I would recommend them to start. To have a practice, it can be 15 minutes, it can be half an hour, where you sit with yourself, with your emotions, and naturally things will bubble up. As soon as you turn like the projections inward, there is a clearing, there is something going on, and everybody can do it. Like, you don't need to be super advanced, you don't even need to have a guide in that moment. Like, it's you, your consciousness, and Shakti, and you see where it goes from there, and that's how like I've been able to release trauma from my body and then come back to my breath. Like, the most important thing is to come back to your breath. Each time it goes into something a bit intense where you have a release, and you just come back to your breath. And that's the main practice, I think. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah,
It's
I'm
one of
coming
the
back
sadhanas
to.
that I love the most.
Sorry?
It's one of the sadhanas that I love the most. And I have workshops that are called tantrika.
Yeah, I love that. I saw that.
It's really nice. And, it's been a process for me too, because these containers get created, I would say, every 8 to 9 months. I really fully follow guidance with this. Like, I'm not, and sometimes like I have like insights, and then it's just like I have to embody them. Also, I do my research. So the first one was on Hinduist Tantra. The second one was on Egyptian Tantra, which we can go into after. It's really beautiful. And the next one I'm feeling is going to be more Taoist Tantra. And so I bring people into these 4 pillars. Once again, we sit down, we meditate, we have some type of practice, which can be breath or chanting. And that's the beauty of Tantra. You do what you like in order to open that door. You don't have to go through something that's excruciating and like that you like lifeless. You can actually do things that you love, and it can be movement, it can be breath, it can be singing if that's something that you want to explore. And you keep repeating for a little while, and then I bring people into like kind of like an ecstatic dance, but it's more like a meditative dance.
Mm-hmm.
And we go wild. Like, we release, we start
That's
slow,
our
like
favorite part.
kind of like a wave, you know, we start slow so everybody gets to connect with their body truly and see where the energy wants to go. And then it's like, you want to do animal sounds, do them. Like we really let like our mind expand, and the prefrontal cortex, the rational mind, shut down, and we make space for whatever wants to be expressed in the moment. And then it's like you go as far as your nervous system is able to go with you. You know, and we expand our capacity for joy, we expand our capacity for our expression. And eventually it's like you develop self-love through that, because you realize that there's nothing bad, there's nothing wrong with your anger, there's nothing wrong with the trauma you've been through. Like it's all okay, you know. Yeah.
That's beautiful, and especially that you're saying this. Thank you very much. The answer is always coming back to the physical body and feel, and yeah, let yourself like go through the waves of life, right? So that's beautiful. I have a really last question for you. Would you say that sitting and like receiving cacao in a cacao circle, would it be a tantric practice too? Would you call it a tantric practice?
Yeah, of course. Oh my God, yeah. And especially how you did it. Because I remember when I arrived in Sayulita and I was having like, anyway, it was a big moment for me of like recentering, and I needed a space to like reconnect. And you brought us into different practices that were definitely of the tantric essence. I mean, you connect with the spirit. You when you drink the cacao, also it's like a whole tantric experience of connecting with each of your senses, and then moving with it, moving through chanting, through dancing. Like the real question is like, what is not tantra?
Exactly. That was my point. What is not tantra? Be with the screen all day. I don't know. Gracias. Well, thank you very much. Um, Thank you for sharing. I really wanted to have this conversation for a really long time. You know, I love you. So thank you very, very much. And I'm sending you love. And another day we can do another one talking about somatic and Akashic records, because I think that's another juicy topic. I just didn't want to mix them today. But if you want, muchísimas
Yeah, that would be great.
gracias.
Going into sound healing as well. I have so
Yeah,
much to
and sound
so much that I
healing.
want to share
Yes,
with that.
yes,
But
yes, for
and
sure.
one last thing that I think is really important for people listening and watching is that the beauty in Tantra also, and what I've discovered through the years, is that we can use our imagination in Tantra. Because imagination through the tantric lenses is actually a tool. So there's many tantric meditation where you can actually like imagine yourself in a lotus flower, and you gently bloom as it blooms, and you imagine your energy moving, and you create. It's a very creative path. That's what I like with Tantra. Yeah. Mhm.
Muchas gracias, hermosa. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So nice.
Bye. This is so beautiful. Thank you, Carly, and all the people that joined today. Muchísimas gracias. I will save the video. I always put the highlights of the videos today. We share what we put in our magic potions at the beginning. So muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. In your bodies. Adios.